So I'm going to ask AI what the best comics are to read. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is just me playing around and doing a bit of an experiment with AI. So in my day-to-day role as a marketer, I'm always having to try out new tools and stuff, and AI is taking over the world. We've seen debates about AI art and it being trained on real artists and basically plagiarizing or stealing their works, or at least copying their styles, right? And so, the comics community is not a fan of AI art, but AI I've seen used in some really interesting ways across the board. Now, recently, I got a chance to try out Google's AI tool, which is called Bard. And I don't even know if Bard stands for anything. Like, what does the word Bard even mean? But anyway, Google's got their sort of chat GPT, competitor in Bard, and it is pretty interesting. And so I just asked Bard what the best comics are for new readers. And I wanted to show you the response. It says, there are many great comics out there that are perfect for new readers. Here are a few of my favorites. So it starts off with Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. This classic superhero story is a must-read for anyone interested in comics. It's a complex and thought-provoking tale that explores the nature of good and evil, power and corruption, and the role of superheroes in society. And then next up is The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. This groundbreaking fantasy series is a beautifully written and illustrated epic that follows the adventures of Dream, the Lord of Dreams. It's a story about love, loss, hope, and redemption, and it's one of the most acclaimed comics ever written. So right off the bat, two classics that I hear recommended a lot, both of which I have not read. But it's interesting that it doesn't just give you a list, but it gives you like a reason to read each of these. Let's go on with the rest of it, right? So next up is Bone by Jeff Smith. This charming all-ages adventure follows the Bone cousins as they journey across the Valley of the Dry Bones. It's a funny, heartwarming, and exciting story that will appeal to readers of all ages. Man, and just to be fair, we're 3 for 3. These are stories that I've seen recommended on all sorts of top 10 lists. But let's move on. Next up is Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. This sci-fi epic follows the adventures of a young couple from warring alien races as they try to raise their child in peace. It's a beautifully drawn and written story that explores themes of love, loss, family, and hope. Okay, interesting stuff. Man, they are really nailing these recommendations, in my opinion. And the last recommendation they have is Mouse by Art Spiegelman. This graphic novel tells the story of Spiegelman's father, Vladek, who survived the Holocaust. It's a powerful and moving account of one man's experience of one of the darkest chapters in human history. It says these are just a few of the many comics that are perfect for new readers. With so many great options to choose from, there's sure to be something for everyone. So that's really interesting, right? Just first of all, being able to ask, for the best new comics and getting this really detailed response, like I said, and not just a list, is pretty cool. One thing that I will say, I've read parts of Mouse by Art Spiegelman, and I feel like one thing that you have to say when you're explaining Mouse is that it's done from this interesting perspective of cats and mice, right? And then there's you kind of used as stand-ins for Jews and Germans and so on. But other than that, man, I think these recommendations are spot on. It kind of spits out a lot of the same information that I've seen or that I've gotten from countless hours of YouTube videos and stuff like that. But one thing that stands out to me about this list is outside of Watchmen, there's not really any superhero stories here. And also, even including Watchmen, like Watchmen, I guess Watchmen counts because there are superheroes in the story, but there are no like mainstream big two superheroes, no Superman, no Batman. So I'm going to ask right now. All right. So what are the best superhero stories in comics. It's thinking, okay, so Watchmen still ends up at number 1. But because I asked for superheroes specifically, now we're getting more superheroes. So we got The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, Kingdom Come, Mark Waid and Alex Ross, The Long Halloween by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, and The Killing Joke by Alan Moore and Brian Bolland. What's really interesting to me is that every single one of these features Batman. Like, Batman is in every single one of these stories. What if I ask about best Superman stories? All right. Now that I've asked for best Superman stories, now we've got Superman for All Seasons, Superman Birthright, All-Star Superman, Superman Red Sun, and Kingdom Come. Which, hey, again, these are books that make top 10 lists all the time. That's really cool. I think it's interesting, like, what can be done with AI. And to be fair, you could have just Googled this, but again, having all the information in one place and it provides context as opposed to just presenting information, I think is pretty interesting. And Google's AI, I find to be superior to other tools like ChatGPT because it's got like all of Google's search history, and Google can tell you, you know, which of these books got clicked on the most. And so you absolutely are getting the most popular hits, which I think can also be a detriment because you're asking about the best stories, not necessarily the most popular stories. And so for things like that, if you wanted to find like sleeper stories or the most underrated comics, well, then you're probably going to want to just seek out those videos on YouTube. People like my man Omar from Near Mint Condition. Let me just ask them though. All right. So I just typed in most underrated superhero stories and let's see what it gets back. So superhero comics are a dime a dozen, but some stories are truly underrated. Here are a few of my favorites. Immortal Hulk by Al Ewing and Joe Bennett. Vision by Tom King. Ms. Marvel by G. Willow Wilson. Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. And Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chang. So these are definitely some underrated yet critically acclaimed stories. I've heard great things about all of these series. My man Kev has been trying to get me to read Monstrous for like 2 years now. I have started, Kev. I just haven't finished it. And Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan is, again, a super critically acclaimed series, even though the TV show kind of crashed and burned after one season on Netflix, Amazon, wherever it was. So really interesting stuff here. Not mad at all at this usage of AI. If we can use AI to recommend good stories to comic book readers, that's a win in my book. That's a win for me. So I just wanted to share Google's findings and find an interesting way to do it. So that's going to do it for me in this video. Have you guys been using AI to do anything? If so, let me know what you tried to use it for, what the result was, and where you think this sort of technology can fit in comic book stories. Like, I guess, you know, you could probably ask an AI tool to outline a comic for you or to give you, I don't know, recommend some names or archetypes for characters. I don't know. It's interesting, but I think using AI as like a sort of creative tool, that's a little bit dicey, but using it for research, I think that's the way to go. I think that's where the smart money is. So yeah, let me know what you think. By the way, I got to give a huge shout out to the channel family, all the members of the channel who make content like this possible. If you want to support the channel in the same way, click the join button down below. I'll see you guys in another video real soon. Until then, be safe, be classy, and read something dope today. Peace.